Hello, my loves. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I'm well myself. Today we are going to cook a Kenyan meal. It is but one of the favorite dishes that we cook in many parts of Africa. But our Kenyan style and also Tanzania is a bit different because we make this meal a bit firm more than other South African countries or the African countries in the South. And today I'm going to show you how I pair this meal, which is called Ugali, with kales and saucy beef. And there are various methods of cooking this, and I'll show you just how I do this as I explain the many other ways of doing it. But in the meantime, I'll show you how I prepare first by cleaning them, and then I'll shred in the food processor. Though we are used to cutting these vegetables by knife, and we cut it really thin, we shred it really thin. But today I'll use a food processor because it's faster. So the process is as easy as this. You have to start your water. I will start my ugali by warming some water, and I'll bring this to the boil. And sometimes, just to increase the temperature, you will add something like flour or butter just to increase the boiling point. Yeah, that's important. In the meantime, I'll show you. I'm using this kind of a food processor. So there are some food processor that use a blender. I have noticed that my blade is a bit blunt, but I will still use it because I need to cut this very fast. So the method I use with that cylindrical grater, you can use either side. Yeah, to shred you will use the blade, and to grate something like carrots you make the grater face upwards, but now it's the blade that is facing upwards. And then the best way to cut kales is that you put a bunch together and then you use the presser to push them through. That way they are firm enough for the blade to cut through. So I think that is important, and I like this because it cuts very fast. If you have too many, don't force them into the jar. Just clear off everything that you've cut and then do another batch. I think that's the best way. It ensures that you have enough space. So for mine, I think I did them twice, and just a small bunch will do. As long as you press, the blade will cut them cleanly. So after that, you may choose to reduce the size by cutting with the knife, just to reduce the very long shreds, or just cook them like that if it's not a bother. But this smaller they are, the easier it is to cook, and also very tasty, I guess. So to cook my meal, I will start by cutting the onion. So for the style that I'm using today, and I do use various styles, I'll be just using onions in the kales, and then I will add some coconut milk at the very end just to flavor them. But these tomatoes I'm cutting for my beef, not for the kales. Yeah, the onion also is large enough, so I will divide it between my beef stew and and the kales. All right, so just cut the tomatoes. You don't have to use too much in the beef stew. We use just enough. In fact, even one would be enough when you're using Royco. But I don't have Royco today. I'll be using my regular spices, which are paprika and any other. So friends, you saw me starting the water boiling. You need a strong pot like this to make your ugali. This one is wearing out. The non-stick layer at least is wearing out because of activities like this, cooking ugali. So we definitely need another. A very heavy bottomed pot is the best for this meal, because once we bring it together, once we stir the flour into the water, we'll have long moments of just letting the ugali cook by itself. So you need something that will not burn the cornmeal too fast. Yeah. So the process is that you boil the water and then add an impurity, which would be butter, as well as the flour, just a little sprinkle. That will raise your boiling point, and that means when the water is thoroughly boiling, you're ready to cook your ugali. Now, the method to cook ugali is adding the flour into this very hot water, not just a rolling boil, just but a very, very good boil. You want, after adding your butter or a sprinkle of flour, you want it to boil some more. Okay, then we will start adding the flour and stirring.
Do you want to know? Well, I've been thinking about you, and I think I'll have to listen, because...
So we've started stirring our flour into the hot water. The easiest way to describe this is like making a porridge, but this does get a bit lumpy as you continue because the water is extra hot, and you want to stir it in slowly by slowly until you get the right consistency that you want. I like my ugali soft, and the ratio I would say is best for me is usually a cup of flour to 2 cups of water, but I'm past measuring, so I just eyeball it. So that is what I'm going for, and this is a very well processed flour. I use the Goya Maserepa, and it just gives me a very good consistency. You can tell that the maize was well dried and processed, so it always gives a good consistency. I really like it. And so this is how you do it. You just stir and make sure there are no lumps in that ugali. You have to repeat this a few times, and then once you're satisfied that everything is mixed, you want to let it steam for a bit. By doing this, I'm just checking if there's any blobs of flour, and it seems it's okay. It's soft enough. So I've done a good job of mixing. Now we let it cook in the stove. If you noticed earlier, I had started my beef, and all I did is add the beef into the pot, into my cooking pan on the side, and then I added some water, and so I've let it boil for some time. I believe I added some salt just to season the beef as it boils. It's important at that point you can add salt and some herbs, whatever herbs you like using, before you start your frying process. So I wanted the beef to boil for a while, and because I also wanted it to separate. And this is how we typically cook our food. We have so many things going on at the same time. So while the water was boiling and the meat as well, I was washing and cutting the kale, and now I want to check on it. So it has just been boiling in that water, and I'm going to add my aromatics, which is my garlic and coriander crushed together. I do this, I crush them in the in the food processor, and then I add that mixture or that paste into ice cube containers, and then I freeze in the ice cube containers. Then later on, once it's firmed up, I add into a Ziploc bag, and that way I'll have my aromatics ready for some time. Yeah. So I will let this beef continue cooking. One of the best aromatics for beef is garlic. And if you add this coriander together, it's just amazing. The flavor is just so well developed. Yeah. So I'm going to let it boil a little longer with this, and then we'll move it on from there. Okay, friends, so now I've added the salt, and now I start adding my herbs. This will be oregano, goes very well with beef. Something else I want to add today is coriander. This is dried coriander. It's not as an herb I use all the time, but I like it. And I'm going to crack in some black pepper. And this is just building the flavors. This combo is really, really good. I would highly recommend. So I'll let this all boil together after stirring nicely. And the beef is going to be nicely flavored with the salt and the herbs as they're coming together. You can add a bit of ginger if you like it in the beef. Me, not so much unless I'm cooking a different dish. That would be pilau. I love the ginger in the pilau. But anyway, just mixing it like this, and then I'll cover. And in the meantime, we're checking it on the ugali. It's been steaming for some time, and it's doing quite well. Smells really good. And we're just going to check on it. I know some people may be surprised that I let the steaming or the steam fall inside. That is just a trick when you're ready to clamp up your ugali, for lack of a better word. You can use a bit of steam or a bit of water on the cooking stick just to make it softer on the surface. It works quite well. So I just wanted to turn it like that, allow the steam to, just be added in the pot, and then cover again. And now we check on it again the same way. The water will not ruin it at all. So that's just something I do. Now, if you find the experts doing this, they just turn this ugali onto their hand. It's really amazing. I grew up seeing the women in my family doing that, and when I tried, and I was quite young when I tried that, it burnt me so much. I never recovered. So I'm always doing this. Yeah. So you form it into a wound, and just keep doing that until it's softer. If you like, you can wash your cooking stick and repeat the same. You don't have to dry the cooking stick. Just make sure it's all wet, and it will help you smoothen the surface. And then you let it steam a bit more so that it doesn't feel like it's raw or anything. So keep doing that, and soon the ugali will be ready, and we'll form it into a ball-like shape, or just round, or just bring it together in a way. And after, it will be nice and ready to be served, or it can sit a while the stew is done or is getting done, and then at least it will have cooled a bit enough to start serving. And it's ready, so we'll take it out and then continue with our stew. It's perfect, and our flavors have infused really well. So me personally, this is what I do, because I can't continue to cook in all that stock. I will set it aside and I will only add it later once I've added the tomatoes. Many ways I cook this stew, but sometimes it's just like this, and I promise you it's really good. So at this point, I want my meat to dry up, and then we'll add, even as it dries up, we'll add the oil. I'm using olive oil this time. Avocado oil goes well. You can use corn oil too, or vegetable oil, whatever oil you like. And then we'll add our onions. Red onions is amazing in this. And then we'll leave it to cook and fry up. Should I warn you? I already burnt the meat just a little though, and for some reason the flavor was just amazing with this a bit of char on that beef. It felt like as if it was grilled first. There's actually a dish in Kenya, you grill the meat first and then you fry it this way, but that is just me defending myself a little. Adding a bit of oil because that didn't seem enough. This wasn't a very oily or very fatty beef, so a bit of oil will help. We want it to be a bit saucy and very nice looking. You know, oil does that. So the onions get a very nice flavor, even though they don't cook to a point where they brown. So I'm just getting some of the spices that will add color to this, and that will be paprika, and then we add our tomatoes. So as you can see, I could have added more tomatoes in this. I just didn't want to because I want these tomatoes to cook together with the gravy. I don't want the meat to be really saucy, and it really wasn't. Had to use some pictures from a different occasion because I burned the meat a little, but I still wanted to show you the process I used in this particular meal. So very important that you flavor your beef with the herbs. The beef really does well with herbs and aromatics and good amount of salt and pepper. So you have to check the level you want for your sauce, and I ended up adding all the stock that I had taken out because it was less than a cup, and we know that it will cook down. What I was going for was a wet fry, not really soupy. I just wanted to have a little gravy just like this. So it is done now. The best thing to add to this is some chopped coriander. We call it dania in Swahili. And then we set it aside. That will be infusing and it will smell really good when we open. Do you like that? Do you like the method that we use? It's really flavorful. It's quite different from how we cook beef here in America because they love coating the beef with flour so that when they add the liquids, it will be nice and thick. We'll do that someday, but as you know, we have some keto eaters in this family. They never mess up with the flour, so we have to use that method, but it's also a very Kenyan method of cooking. All right, so now we're moving on to our kale, and I started by frying the onion. For my very young cooks and upcoming chefs, there's one trick you have to do when you're frying the onion. Let the oil heat up fast. That way when you add the onion, it just gives a very nice aroma, and then you want to cook it hot so that as it begins to brown, it has already gone through the process, produced enough aroma for whatever dish you're cooking. So that's very important. And then now we add our sukuma wiki. Now when serving with the saucy dish, like the meat, with the saucy meat, you don't have to add tomatoes to the sukuma wiki. You can just cook it in the onion and it's brilliant. Once you add the salt and pepper, that's all you need, yeah? And you can stir it a bit just to reduce the volume, and you can check your seasoning at this point to see if it's enough or if it's too much. If it gets too much, you can take out the sting by adding a bit of regular milk, coconut milk, or cream. That will take away if you've added too much salt. And you know that happens when you're cooking the greens because they seem like there are too many and then they really shrink. So that helps. But originally I had wanted to add some coconut milk. This really pairs well with the beef, and the skuma. When I cook like this, I know it's a treat for the guys, more so because they miss these Kenyan meals, and it's just a great way to end an evening, you know, serving this. It just gets them talking, you know. And we share a lot of Kenyan stories, a lot of Kenyan memories with this. So I hope you do like the recipe. This is how it was looking, and it was very, very delicious. Yeah, so thank you. See you on the next